Okay, so I'm going to talk a little bit about how to get your guitar to sit in your mix like this. So you can probably tell this is actually quite a dense mix. There's a lot going on here. We've got all sorts of sound design. We've got ambient guitar parts. Obviously, typically your bass and your drums. And we've also got vocals, which I've actually got currently muted. So there's actually quite a lot going on here. And when you've got a mix that's this big, this dense, you'll find yourself fighting things like your low mids and your high frequencies because everything's compiling, it's kind of getting on top of each other. So I'm going to talk through a few little tips and tricks of how to get your guitars to sit right in a mix of this sort of density. So here I've got 4 main rhythm guitars. We've got they're all panned hard right and hard left. We've got some heavier guitars which are panned hard left and hard right. And we've also got some sort of slightly less distorted, crunchier guitar tones. And I've done another video on that, which explains why I do that for this sort of kind of big rock metal production. When we recorded this is the Chris Barris Band Fall to Fly mix project. When we actually recorded this, we recorded with the EVH6505 and a bunch of other guitar amps, but that was our main rhythm guitar tone. We ended up typically recording, say, the left heavy side on a humbucker and the right on a single coil or a split coil. And it really gives this sort of sense of width and just seemed to work really, really well. You kind of get that kind of glassy thing from the single coil tones. So I'm going to talk a little bit about this, the EQs that we've got going on here. So as you can see, I've got quite a heavy high pass filter going on in both of these. We're kind of around the 130 to 140 and 120 hertz sort of area with the high pass, and I've also got a low pass filter going on as well, just to get rid of some of that kind of fizzy, airy stuff, which is kind of being occupied by the vocals and the synth parts and so on and so forth. I also have got these kind of parametric notches here, which are dealing with sort of my kind of muddy low mids, and I've also got these tighter Q filters here, which are dealing with some of those kind of like obtrusive whistle tones that you often get with distorted guitars, and some nasty harmonics that we're trying to kind of control a little bit. So I'm just going to play these by themselves. I'll play one of them by themselves. We'll go for the left side first. So that's the guitar with the EQ enabled. Let's just bypass that now. So you can immediately hear there's a lot of kind of that fizzy. It's very natural when you record it. Anyway, it would always be there, but that kind of slightly fizzy high end, wispy high end, and then you've got that kind of muddy low mids and lows there. The problem with keeping this stuff in the mix is that you're going to start stepping on other elements of the mix. So things like your bass, which really needs to be occupying those lows and low mids, your kick drum, and anything else that's kind of like occupying the low end. And also with the high, we want to kind of create that space there really for the higher end and the sibilants in your vocals, and the air, not the sibilants really, the air in your vocals. And sort of you want to make sure that the presence isn't being kind of compounded with the high end of the guitar, high end of the vocals, high end of the synth. So I'm just going to show you what I'm doing with these kind of small notch filters here. So I'm just going to exaggerate this just so you can hear the tone that I'm actually trying to take out. That was quite a dominant frequency, or small group of frequencies that was kind of compounding in a lot of these guitars. You can see this is about 2,500 hertz, 2.5k. And I've done the same on the right channel as well. It's that same area. So when you've got one guitar, sometimes it's quite hard to notice that frequency is a dominant frequency. But when you start to compile them and you start recording multiple layers of the guitars, those frequencies really do start to stack up. So I find that it's actually more noticeable once you've actually layered up the guitars. You start to hear these tones more because they are just compiling on top of each other. So that's why I start to then carve out and take some of these intrusive frequencies out and start to kind of create that space and make sure they're kind of it's feeling aggressive but feeling kind of smooth. And in your low pass filter here, it really is to taste, and you kind of it's a fine balance with the vocals to get the low pass filter right. But this kind of worked. I'm just going to bypass these as we play it through so you can hear what's going on. So you can hear all that information up there. Gets pretty gnarly when you start layering it up again. Just the same with as I explained with these notch filters, you need to kind of try and control a lot of that. And the same with these low mid frequencies. Obviously, again, it really depends on the tone of the guitar, and this specific EQ wouldn't necessarily work for every single guitar tone. This is obviously completely tailored towards these tones. But these low mid frequencies here, the low mids are kind of often occupied by the warmth and the bass, and also you've got things like your snare drum, which is in this track is kind of punching through around about the 200 hertz area. So we're trying to kind of create space for that. Also space for your synth parts. If you've got some warm pads, that's kind of all occupying this area. So you need to kind of try and give and take, create space. So I'm just going to solo out this bell frequency here. I'm going to exaggerate that so you can hear what it's doing. Kind of boxy, muddy. I'm going to listen to those in the mix now. I'm going to bypass both of these EQs so you can hear what they sound like without the EQ. And I'm going to push them up in the mix so you can hear start to get quite harsh and quite muddy. You can really hear that mud. I'm just going to gauge this EQ again. Way smoother now. We've lost a lot of that mud. And that's how I approach EQing rhythm guitars in modern metal production.